recording. Yes, okay. We are now recording. As Sharon said, I'm KJ Canely, and I have been a solo entrepreneur for the last 18 years, have used Adobe's Creative Suite way before it was Creative Suite and taught it for the last 20-ish years. And let me get my screen share going and give you some information of what we are going to do today. Please feel free to type in the chat, and Sarah, if you could watch that, any questions that you guys may have, or unmute yourselves and just yell them out. So we're going to build a reusable social media graphic. Can you see my screen share? I think we're still seeing you, Sarah. Okay, we need to get to.
We can see your screen.
You can see my screen. Okay, because my screen is that we're showing you. Okay. All right, we're going to build a reusable keyword, reusable social media post graphic with Canva. And Canva is a really cool program because you can do all kinds of things with it. I tend to teach people Canva at this point instead of Photoshop or some of the other programs like InDesign because it's so easy to use and user friendly. The idea is going to be create a set of social media posts. We want it to be really easy. We want those posts to be a quick read. And best of all, we want it to save you time. That's the whole thing for what I do. I love to demystify technology and help micro businesses and small businesses make their work life easier. A quick shout out to the Waterworks Art Museum and thanks. What we are going to do today, yes, Dixie. What we are going to do today is create social media graphics, or at least the ones I will demo. You will create your own in relation to the Western Art Roundup and the second student juried exhibition. Thanks to Bonnie Beth for getting all that information to me. And thanks to Andy Watson and Archer Edwards, who are the artists that have allowed us to use their images. This I sent out again this morning. Some of you may or may not received it. Just a quick thing on here. When you're creating something, just to make the whole thing a little more simple, what do you want your post to do? Collect the photos that you'll need, prepare the text that you will need, and then consider the color and the style that it's going to be. So here's what I did in relation to the Waterworks art shows. The whole idea, the purpose of these posts are just to promote the shows. I collected the 3 images that I needed to use. I got the information, which was the show title, the dates and times, and the artist information. And the design idea, I just wanted to keep it really simple so that it would fit the artwork and the show theme. So I jumped over to Canva and found a template. I put Andy's image in here, changed the color of this background, and added the text. Because I wanted it to be a series, then what we will do is take this page that we created in Canva, duplicate it, and then change out your next image and the text information. And that's how easy it is to create a series of something, to use a series of posts. Part of the reason that I use the same color here is I wanted it to be recognizable and carry out a theme. I'm going to encourage you to play with ideas beyond that after class. Here's a couple simple ones. Change out the background behind the text or put a frame around the image. So with all of that being said, let's jump over to Canva. So you guys go ahead and open Canva if you don't have it already open. And I assume you can see my Canva screen now. Okay. So once you get Canva open, a couple things that I would like to point out. You've got 2 buttons here, Home and Canva. Either of these will get you back to your home screen. Your screen at the moment may or may not look like mine, and here's the reason why. If you've got it drug out really large, you'll have this menu all the way across here. When you make it smaller, you'll see that menu beginning to disappear behind the 3 dots until it gets to the point where it might look like this. And the menu seems to be lost at this point, but that same menu is now under this hamburger menu. I'm going to backtrack just a half a step with you. Do you feel comfortable with this open, and do you have your Canvas screen and your Zoom screen both open? Did all of you guys get that together, or most of you? I see heads nodding. Cool. All right. I'm going to keep my Canvas screen kind of small at this point so that it probably looks like yours, but just remember that if I go to the hamburger menu here, your menu may be across the top here. And for those of you that just joined, I added a text file in the chat. That text file is the list of the steps that we are going to be going through for this class. So you can save it, use it later, or use it to follow along as we're going. Once you get into Canva, basic information about it. Again, here's your home button. If you get lost and need to go back home, create a design. This is, click this, and you have designs that you can look at. You have the hamburger menu, which also gives you a variety of templates, features, and additional information. Real quick thing to notice, there is a search bar here, and this can get confusing depending on where you are. There is also a search bar under Create Design. They will look for completely different things. So if you are looking for a template, you need to use the search bar under, or that sits right beside Canva. So the template that we are going to use, and I'm going to put that in the chat box, it's called Red Pancakes Food. So in this top menu, if you type in Red Pancakes Food and hit enter, you'll come up with all kinds of templates that's associated with this name. Probably one of the first few will be the one that's weekend brunch special, and it's got red on the bottom and has pancakes on it. That's the template that we're going to use today. One thing to notice, because I've already had Canva open, I've got several Canva tabs going up here already. But watch what happens to these tabs when I click this template that I want to use, and you'll see that it opens it in a new tab. So now I have this weekend brunch special, our red pancakes, in my work area, and it's open in a new tab. A little bit about the work area of Canva. You have a menu across the top. And you have 2 areas. You have your work area, which is this area, and then you have a secondary menu area which shows templates, photos, elements, all kinds of different things, text, and these are pop-out menus that go along with this section. I have this highlight cursor going on here. Can you see, you guys see my cursor okay? Because sometimes it seems not to work quite right on Zoom. Do you see the little yellow cursor? Or is my cursor just a black pointy thing that you're having trouble following?
It looks good.
Okay, just wanted to make sure you can see it and I wasn't moving it if it was a little black arrow and you were having trouble following it. Okay, in this menu, because this work area is pretty small at this point, this little arrow, and you'll see the pop-up hide. If you click that, that makes your work area a lot larger to work in, which is really handy. So the first thing that we're going to do, because we're not advertising pancakes, we're advertising Dixie's coming show, we're going to click on this pancake image. You'll see that we now have a box around this whole thing. And simply hit the delete key. We want it gone. We want to put our own image in there. Once you do that, we're going to go to Uploads on the left side. click upload. Your uploads menu will pop out where you can upload images, videos, audio. You can see here the image that I have already uploaded for this. But what you will do at this point, if you have images ready to upload, and if you don't, I'll show you where the stock photos are in a moment. Click Upload Media. We're going to upload from our device, which is your computer. Once you click Upload from Device, it's going to bring up your Finder if you're on a Mac, and oh, I forgot what they call it on the PC, but a window where you can search for whatever it is, the image that you want to find, how you find it on your computer. Because I've already got my images on there, I'm just going to click another image. There's another Waterworks Art Museum. Select the image that I want, click Open, and you can see that it puts it in my uploads. So I'm going to give you a moment to put an image in your uploads and work on that. And if you just want to put one in there for now, that's just fine. If you don't have images that you want to upload today, under Photos, you have a selection of stock photos, and there are a myriad of stock photos that you can use. Use the search tab or the search bar, type in anything that you may want, like mountains, and it's going to bring up all kind of mountain photos. So if you don't have a photo to upload, you can grab a photo out of the Photos tab. I'm going to go back to Uploads, and I want to upload this image of Andy's, of the bareback. See bareback? Yeah, bareback rider. I'm simply going to click on it and drag it to my work area. When I do this, watch what happens. There are two things that go on here. There you see the blue line all the way around the outside of the image area. If I take it over further, you see the entire image. And I'm going to show you why it does that and what the differences are between the two. So now that I've got the image in here, I'm going to close this so you can see it a little better. Right now, this image is a background image. If I double click on it and want to move it, it's not going to let me move it outside my work area, and it's not going to let me make it any smaller. I want to be able to see more of this image, so I don't want it set in there as a background image. I'm going to delete it, go back to my uploads, and again, so that time when I put it in, it had the blue box all the way around. This time I'm going to drag it. Oh, now it's already put it in there as a background image one time. Now it may not want to do it right. Oh, there we go. Let go of it in the middle, and you can see that now I have a blue box around the entire image. So ideally what you want to do is drag it in and let it go in the middle, not near the edge, so that you can see the blue box around the entire image. Now you can adjust it to the size that you want it. So I'm going to close that out again so that my work area is larger. I'm going to grab a corner handle, pull it over here. I do want to keep the top of his hand in there as much as I can. And push it over to the corner. And then I'm going to drag it out, and notice two different things that are going on here. One, this image is sitting on top of all this other information that we need to keep. Not a big deal, because we'll fix that in a moment. The other thing, if you need to crop your image, the handles that are on the sides versus the handles that are in the corners will make it larger and smaller. The handles on the sides and the top and bottom are for cropping. Any questions? Okay. And if you do have a question and want to type it in the chat and ask Saren to shout it out, that's fine too. once I've got this image in here, I look at this and go, oh, wait a minute, this is sitting on top of all of this. Anytime you are working on something in Canva, whether it's an image or text or a graphic, you have an additional options menu at the top. For images, we've got all kinds of options up here. One of which over on the far right-hand side is called position. And if by chance position isn't showing up on yours, you'll need to hit the little 3-button drop-down menu for more. But the position is how they're stacked up one on top of the other. And right now, this is stacked on top of everything else. So I'm going to click position, and I'm going to ask it to put that image backwards. And you may have to click it a couple times depending on what else you have stacked up there. So now that I've asked it to move backwards, it's behind my text in the red graphic. I can get a little bit more of it in by cropping it. No, I can't because I lose this on the side here. So that's probably the best with this graphic and this image that I'm going to be able to do to get all of it in here. But I'm really good with that for now. The next thing that we're going to do is change the color of this background. So if I click on this background, first thing to notice is you've got a solid blue line here, a dotted blue line here, and if I click and drag this, the red thing or the red background as well as the text all go together at the same time. This dotted line means they're grouped together. Did somebody have a question?
Yep. Tracy Baker asked, if I like the size of the picture, how do I drop it in without resizing it?
Just drag it in, and then you'll want to grab the handles at the top. So if I select this picture again, if I drug it in, whoops, if I drug it in and it's sitting here like this, or maybe it's on top of this, just grab this outside handle and resize it to get it to fit like you want it. Did that get it, Tracy? When you drag it in, one other thing that might help, when you drag it in, if it's a large image, it might be sitting like this. And you go, where is it? I know that here's this whole thing. One, that shows you that it's a large image that you put in to begin with. So you can just move it until you find handles. Let's keep grabbing that thing. And you can adjust the size that way. And on any of these questions, if you get stuck on them and we keep going, make a note of what that question is, send it to me in an email. I will answer that in an email. And we're also going to have a Q&A for this class on Tuesday of next week. So once you get your image set, and we go back to look at all of this text, and I got sidetracked there. Tracy, I hope that got it. Oh, you got it. Okay, thanks. Good. This dotted line means all of these things are grouped together. So when I click and drag, it moves all of these things together. That's really handy sometimes, but not always. So when they're grouped together, if you don't want them grouped, remember, anytime you have something selected here, you've got options for it at the top. One of the options for this is ungroup. If I click ungroup, it still looks the same, but anytime you have something selected, you're going to have to click off somewhere and deselect it. Now you can see that I can select the image by itself, and I can select the individual text box by themselves and move them around individually. To change the color of this is a simple little graphic. And again, anytime we have something selected, there are options for it at the top. Look at that bright red color. We click on this red color and you see that it brings up a variety of color options here. We can click on any of these color options and see what happens over on the right-hand side. But I look at these and go, none of these are really the color that I want, but we've got actually a myriad of options. I'm going to find something that's relatively close. And I'm going to go up here and click on this plus sign in the top left-hand side. That brings up a color picker. This is a really cool feature because if you are doing something and you use hex codes for color codes, you can type that in there, or you can drag the slider to change the colors, and you get it kind of the hue that you're going for. And then you can use this little circle and drag it around to change them even further. So 2 ways to change your colors here. You can either pick them from the color selections below, or you can click on this plus to pop up this color dialog box and choose a color here. I'm pretty happy with this color. I'm going to go with that. So I'm going to click in my work area. Before I do that, I'll point this out. Now that I have decided I wanted to use this color, it's going to keep it in my documents, so that if I want to go back and use it again, it's going to be here. So now I'm going to click off on the side to make this larger again. And now I've got this color as my background. So far, so good. Okay, next thing that we want to do is start changing some of this text and moving it around. I'm going to start with this large text. One click and you can see that it's got it selected. It shows our text options at the top. In those options, we have a more menu to even show more options, which I don't need at the moment. If you double click on it, it's going to put your cursor in there ready to type. And so this is going to be for me, Western Art Roundup. So that's pretty good. Maybe I want to use a different font. And instead of this sans serif font, I want to use a font that has feet on it. In my type options, I click the drop down menu on the far left. And I have a myriad of fonts that I can choose from. If you know the name of your font or the style font you're looking for, you can type it in the search menu. And I'm going for a really basic serif font. So I'm going to click PT Serif. You can see that it shows it up here in my options at the top now, and it has changed it in the box here. Once I've got that done, I'm going to click anywhere on the outside of my work area. So it closes that text menu. Let me show you a couple things about working with type boxes. There's a couple ways that you can move them and make them larger, smaller. If you grab a corner, you can see that as I do that, it actually adjusts the size of the type. That went from a 48 point to a 26.1 point font. If you grab the side handles, let me move it over. See, there we go. If you grab the side handles, you can see that it's actually changing the shape of the type box. So the corners, when you use that, it changes the size of the font. The side handles will change the shape of the font box. All right, Pretty good so far. The next thing I want to do are put the dates in here. So I'm going to double click or click on this font box, type box, and I'm going to put April 23rd, which is tomorrow. So you guys all go over and support the Waterworks Museum. April 23rd, I'm going to hit my enter key to go down to the next line. Friday, 4 to 7 p.m. And that looks pretty good, actually. And this one might end up being a little bit different than the one I originally created. We'll see how this goes. I like that this font is different from these other two. It makes this stand out better. Got my date in there. The next thing I need to add is the information about Andy. So I can put that in there as well. I'm going to click on this type box, select all of that type, and type artist, Andy Watson, and Andy's, sorry, I can't type and talk at the same time sometimes, and Andy is at Bullstock Media. I want to be able to move this around, but you see that I have my ID bar here. So there is an icon right here that I can click and drag this type. If I wanted to rotate it, I could also rotate it. You know, maybe on this one, we'll stick Andy's information right there. And as I look at that, I go, I would really like that all justified left instead of justified right. So again, I have type going on. My type options at the top are the alignment for the type. And you just click on it and keep clicking on it. And I need to have all the types selected, excuse me. And keep clicking on it until it puts it in the alignment that you want, left, right, or center. So I'm going to click off to the side and go, yeah, I like that fairly well. Maybe I will move this down to the bottom. Adjust that date, and I can see now I really, oops, going to have opening reception in there. Okay, so this is what I have done at this point to change the existing type. If I want to add type, there's a couple ways to go about doing that. Let me show you this one. You can go over to the type menu on the left-hand side. Click that and it pops out a type menu. What heading, subheading, and a little bit of body text is basically the size. It doesn't actually put the H tags in there if you're familiar and think of headings, subheadings, and body text in relation to HTML. It doesn't put those H tags in, but I want just a little bit of, let's go subheading. I can always make it bigger. I click on this and it puts it right in the middle of my graphic. I'm going to click on the Move tool, drag it down and get it roughly aligned where it's about where I want it. I'm not even going to bother to type in right now because I want to make the screen bigger and do that. But one other thing that's really cool while I am over here that I would like to point out to you guys is look at all the cool options that you have for fun and interesting type. So if we wanted to say open 24/7, and I know this show isn't open 24/7, I can click on it. And now I've got this type over here that says open 24/7. I don't particularly want that there, so I'm going to delete it. Some of these you can actually change the text on and some you can't. I'm going to grab this one just for the fun of it and put it in there. Close this, and you can see that it shows the name of this font I can double click in there and actually type in it. So you can add really cool type effects. So all of that being said, enough of that. I'm going to select it, hit my delete key, and I'm going to go back to this type that I was working on here to add opening reception. So I'm going to select all of this type. Type in the words opening reception because it's too big. I want it a bit smaller. I'm going to grab a corner handle to make it smaller. That's about right. Grab the move icon, line it up, and you can look at this little orange dotted line that pops up that says, look at this. All three of those texts are aligned together. And I want this font to be the same as this font. No, I forgot the name of that font. I'm going to click on this font, Lado. Okay, so I'll go back down to here, select this one.
Hi. We've got one more question.
Okay.
Dixie asked, do the photos have copyrights or do they come with the app?
That's a great question. The photos that come with this app are free to use when you're using Canva for anything that you want to do with them. And remind me when we get back or when we get a stopping spot after this, I'll show you a couple more things about those photos as to which ones are free and which ones you have to have the pro plan to use. Okay, opening reception. I wanted it to be the same font as this, so I've selected it, and I'm going to go up to the top, select Lado, click back in my work area, and now it's the same font as this. And I'm looking at that going, yeah, that's going pretty good at this point. I have a lot of space left over here. So I'm going to move Andy's information down a little bit, and I'm going to make this graphic a little bit smaller. So I'm going to click on this graphic. And I'm just going to grab this arrow, slide it down, and that gives me a little bit more view of his entire piece of art. Any other questions at this point about adding images, using graphics, or doing fonts? It's such a cool program and it's surprisingly easy to use. Questions, thoughts, ideas?
Currently, I'm not seeing any, but if anyone wants to pop in and ask anything, you're free to.
Okay, I will throw out this additional question then. Have you guys created something or got a start on creating something that you are liking at this point? Possibly I went too fast or not fast enough, and somehow probably fast enough, but did I go too fast? And is there something you would like for me to show you again? Okay, moving on. Oh, pardon?
I was going to say you could also talk about the difference between the Canva Pro and this, how there's some items that are provided.
That's a good point. Well, we'll do that right now real quickly, and then we'll move on to the other things with this. So if you look at photos on the left-hand menu, you will see that some photos, when you hover over them, they say free. And some photos, when you look at them, it's got this little crown sitting beside it, and when you hover over it, it has the crown and the word Pro written on it. That is for the paid version of Canva. So with the paid version of Canva, you get a lot more features than you do with the free version of Canva. And I'll show you what a few of those are when we start to download our images. But that's the main thing, whether it's photos or elements, there's a lot of free ones and there's a lot of pro ones. And some of them are united, which are pretty cool. There are so many cool things that you can do with this. Another class that I have done is how to create an animated Facebook cover in Canva, which is a really fun class. Okay, onward. Okay, because I like the shape of where all of this is sitting, maybe I'll move this down just a wee bit. Yeah, okay, I'm good with all of this. So if I were to move it around or anything like that, or if I decide I wanted to move this up, I want to keep all of these things together, like we talked about earlier. So I'm going to select this type, hold the Shift key down, and select this type. You'll see now that it has that dotted box. This type, and my background graphic. Once I select all of those, and you can see that they're selected, I'm going to go up to the top menu, and you don't have to do this. I just wanted to point this out. Hit the More option, and I'm going to ask it to group them. And now, if I decide to move it around a little bit, they're all together. It's just one of those things that makes it a little bit easier as you're working with and moving things. Okay, once I have this done, can we talk about aspect ratio? When I import a rectangle, for example, I sometimes can't make it wider without making it longer. Good question. Yes, let me grab an image real quick and put it in there and show you that. So what we're talking about, question from Melinda, is aspect ratio. Actually, I'm going to do that when we start this next piece. So hang on for about 30 seconds, and then we're going to get to that, because that's a great segue into what we're going to do next. So because we've got this one finished, we want to create another one similar. If you look at your options at the top, this says duplicate page of the little icons at the upper right, and this is add a new page. We want to duplicate this page. And once we do that, then we'll answer Melinda's question. So I'm going to duplicate this page. And now you can see as I scroll, I have two of the same thing. Once I have two of the same thing, I want to add this other image. So I'm going to click on this image. I'm going to hit my delete key. So that image is now gone. I'm going to go back to uploads. Now let's put Archer's image in. So I'm going to grab Archer's image. You guys grab whatever image you would like, or you can still be working on your first page. And remember again, if I hover close to the edge, it's going to put it in as a background image. And it's possible that's where you got stuck, Melinda. If it went in as a background image, then you can't make it smaller than the entire canvas size. But I want to put it right in the middle so you can see the entire image. I'm going to close this so I can see my work area larger. And let's see if this will answer your question, Melinda. Once I slide this image over here, and yep, it is again in front of this, but that's okay. We can easily change that. Grabbing the corners makes it larger and smaller. And I think maybe that you meant as in aspect ratio to be able to crop it like this versus make it skewed horizontally or vertically. So Melinda, would you, if you would unmute so you can pose that question if I didn't get it right, please.
Okay, I'm just putting it in the chat. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, so what I did was I imported an element from a rectangle from the Elements tab over there. And it
yes,
doesn't
okay.
have those side, yeah, those things. Yeah.
Right, it does. Yeah, okay. That's a really good question. Yeah, which elements work different than photos do.
Oh, okay, okay.
Some of those you can change the aspect ratio and those size on. Some of them you can't,
Okay.
unfortunately. It just depends on the element. And thank you for unmuting to ask that question so that we made sure we got it answered. So what Melinda was talking about, she picked an element instead of a photo. Some of those things you can resize like this, others you can't. Once I've got this image in here, and again, it's sitting in front of all of this, I need to put it behind it. I've got an image selected. One of the options is its position in the top right-hand side. I'm going to select that. Click backwards because I want it to go backwards behind these other things. And now I've got that image behind this information. The only thing I have to do at this point is change my text again. So I would simply click on this text box, select all the text, and do second annual, gotta spell it right, S-T-U-D-E-N, student, wow, student exhibition. And you can see when I typed this in, it put it on 2 lines. So I'm going to click off of it so I'm out of the text menu. And then I should be able to, and look at this, here's a really good thing to point out. I'm trying to grab these lines to pull it out and I can't do it. When I start saying, why can't I do that? I've noticed this dotted line, meaning all these things are grouped together. That's why that won't let me do that. I ungroup them. Now when I click on it, I can adjust the size of it. But I need to adjust that way and that way, and now I've got it in there. So to give us time to answer some more questions, see if there's anything else in the chat, and I'll love to point out a couple other things to you. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Yeah, okay. Once you get all of this information changed, and I'm not going to change this at the moment because this isn't something I'm going to use. I'm going to point out a few more things to you guys. When you're working in a work area like this, you have down at the bottom, this is your zoom. If you're working on an area that you're doing something small, you can zoom in and make it larger. It also tells you that you can look at it in a grid view. And it shows you how many pages you have. It's really handy if you're working on something and you have a lot of pages and you go, oh, I want to work on this page versus this page. And if you double click on a page, it will pop that page up. So now what do you do once you have selected all of these things? You've got your photos in there, everything looks good, and you want to download these so you can actually use them for your social media. So that's what is coming up next. So you look at the very top and you have a download button. And I just realized that I didn't do this. And you guys will probably do it. I still do it sometimes. The name of this file, if I downloaded it right now, it's still going to be called Red Pancakes Food. And I might not remember that to be able to find it once I download it. So in the file menu, up at the top left-hand side, you can see it's called Red Pancakes Food Facebook. So when you click on that file menu and you click in the name of the file, that's where you change the name of it. So I'm going to call mine WAM Waterworks Art Museum Facebook post. This also tells you that this post is 940 by 788. And there's some other options here, which we're not going to go. We may have time to look at a couple of those later, but at this point we're not. But if you're used to using programs that have rulers, guides, and margins and bleed areas, that's where you would find these. And this is one of the things that tell me Canva has come a long way because it actually has bleeds on it now, or you can include bleeds. Okay, so now I've got my file renamed. And you can see in my tab up at the top that that's the name of my file. Now, when I download it, it's going to make it a lot easier to find. So I'm going to click on this download icon at the top right-hand side. Depending on the size of your screen, this may be what your download icon looks like, versus if your screen is minimized, and this is now what it looks like. So I'm going to click on the download icon. Oh, that's the wrong one. Sorry about that. My bad. And here's another interesting thing to point out. That was additional information. You see my additional menu has disappeared with the 3 little hamburger icons on it. Sometimes that glitches out, and I'm really glad that it did to show you guys this. And now here it is, and it shows my download button. When you make this screen smaller, it should have a hamburger menu. Sometimes it glitches. If it does, you just need to slide your screen over, and then you can see your download icon. So I'm going to click download. This is another place that you have the Pro version with transparent backgrounds, compressed files, and other things, and you can adjust sizes. We are going to download, instead of the suggested ping, we just want a small JPEG file. Once you select small JPEG, if you've got the Pro version, you can resize it here. If you don't, and for Facebook posts and social media posts, these sizes are fantastic. It says I have 2 pages. So I want to select what I want to download by clicking here, or say select, or deselect all of them. I'm going to say, yep, those are the ones I want. Click done. Click download. And you can see that it is downloading the 2 posts I've made. While I was doing that, it's giving me the option to take some classes through Canva, get a tutorial, get their Pro plan. I'm going to close that. And then you will see here in this, down at the bottom of my screen, it downloaded those 2 files in a zip folder. I'm going to ask it to open them, and it's going to open them, and you may not be, can you see my Finder window here? It has opened them and opened my 2 JPEG images that I downloaded. So I'm going to close that again, go back to my Canva window, and wow, we went through this amazingly quickly. We've got 10 minutes left. So I would love for you guys to throw out all kinds of cool thoughts and questions. If you don't have any, I'll show you a couple more cool things that Canva offers. How's it going, you guys? Are you there? I'm curious if there's a best practice for using live or link clickable graphics in Canva. For using Canva Live or link clickable graphics. You know, I've not done a Canva Live presentation. And for linking clickable, if I can get my tongue tied, for linking clickable graphics, typically what I do in Facebook is once I have this posted, I will post a link in my text because JPEG images don't support links. So for linking clickable graphics, let me look into that some more and see if there's something that Canva offers that I'm not sure about in that, Suzanne. And am I even getting your question right. And you can unmute yourself and ask that if I didn't quite get it right.
Yes, you got it right.
Okay. Thank you.
I was just kind of more curious of perhaps using them in Pinterest rather than Facebook,
Okay.
to direct it back to your website.
Right. Okay. And I don't use Pinterest. My guess is to link a clickable graphic that is actually done in Pinterest, because if you upload a JPEG image, the JPEG does not support a link. So that has to be added in wherever
Right.
you're using it.
They do have links in Pinterest that you can attach to the
Okay.
post. And I'm sure there's a way you can do that clickable link where people can just click your image and it'll take it to that page based on what you do.
And
Yeah.
I've heard that that you can do the clickable graphics in Canva, but I just haven't tried it yet. And I'm trying to get my Pinterest boards up. So it's all that's, I've used Canva a lot, but I haven't used it in Pinterest. So I was just curious. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I'm really curious too, as if you create and download a JPEG file, does it attach metadata to it that then Pinterest can, oh, I might have to try that and see if I can come up with that. Yeah, can't wrap my head around how that would work. Another question, what about adding a small photo or logo on your photo? Oh, that's an excellent question. Yes, to do that. So you find your logo, go to uploads, just like you would use an image, and go to upload media from your device, which I assume that you have your logo on your computer somewhere. Let's see, let me go to my logos. Oops, wrong. Oh, that's an Illustrator file. That one won't work. Branding. Okay, this is a ping file. It has it's got a transparent background. I don't have a pro plan. It's not going to let me do that. Maybe it will. Let's see. Yes, it did. So this is my logo. It has a transparent background. So now when I take this logo and place it on something, you can see that it has its transparency here. And then it's going to work the same way that you would use that, so you can see this, by adjusting the size. If you want to put it with an image so that it stays with an image, size it the size that you want it, put it where you want it, and then select both things, the image and the logo, and ask it to group them together. Now, when you move one around, they both stay together. Great question. And I never put that, I need to put the position of all of that. Once I grouped it together, it pulled this photo to the front. Any more questions? One fun thing that I will point out, and if you have a question, please put it in the chat. This will be something really fun to play with. You notice that if I have something selected or not, up at the top we have animate. And you have all kinds of animation options. So if I click on pan, and it's actually animating this, or block, and it's actually animating it. That's something fun to play with. We're not going to get into that right now, but if you guys, I am going to quit screen sharing if we don't have any questions. I would love to see what you guys have created. So I am going to stop screen sharing. And Sarah, and I'm going to forget how to let anybody else share their screen.
So I believe it may have been settings you had to reset, or you can hit the little, so you go over the share screen button on the bottom, hit the little up arrow that points up. It says multiple participants can share simultaneously.
Okay, so I would love to see what you guys have created if you don't have any more questions. Okay, somebody be brave.
I've also shared my information too, so if you have any questions, I can share KJ's, all of her contact information, or if you have any questions for me or want to look at upcoming classes, do not be afraid to reach out. We also have a Facebook. So if you look up Miles Community College SBDC, you will be able to find us on there as well. And we do create all of our posters on Canva and a lot of our graphics we put on our page.
Great. I will be emailing you guys a follow-up PDF that explains, again, some more information about what we have done today, and it gives you some suggestions as to additional things to try. My contact information will be on that. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. We are going to have a follow-up 30-minute session on Tuesday of next week that are questions not just related to this class, but anything Canva that you want to ask. I may or may not be able to answer them all, but I will do my best, and maybe between all of us we'll figure it out if I can't answer it. And does anybody have something they would like to share? Okay, also coming up in, see, is it the 2nd of June or 3rd of June, Sarah? We have an introduction to WordPress class coming up on the 2nd or the 3rd of June. And it's a 2-hour, 1 hour on Tuesday the 2nd and another hour on, let's see, I've got it right here. Yep. Wednesday, the 2nd of June, and Wednesday, the 9th of June. It's an introduction to WordPress class. I'm pretty excited about this because the way I have set up the practice website that I'm going to be showing you how to do, I'm going to give everyone in the class access to that website so you can build your own WordPress page within our class website. Anything else? I can't believe we got this done in but I guess that's part of the more I do this, the easier it gets, and I don't get off on too many little tangents.
I mean, there was one webinar we had, it was a hybrid webinar between Zoom and in person, and it ended up going half an hour past because we just started getting talking and everyone was putting their input in. Nice. So I mean, either it's one or the other.
Yeah. One of the last ones that I did with Christine, it went over because it was it's actually the Canva class that is creating an animated Facebook header in Canva. Mm. Okay, so I will do just a 30-second. I'm going to share my screen one more time. I'm going to do a 30-second before we go, or maybe I'll do it 1 minute. Once you get into Canva, if you get stuck, you can pause your home screen to your beginning. Once you have created designs, now you will see the design that you created with its name, Waterworks Art Museum Facebook post, down in the Your Designs area. And did my screen share? It doesn't say that it's sharing. Sarah, do you see my screen?
Yep, you're all good.
Oh, interesting. It doesn't show that it's sharing it. So there's the title. That's the design that I just created. You can always get back to it there. If you've got a lot of these things in there and you want to throw one away, click the little 3 buttons here. And I want to, where is it? Move that one to the trash. Create designs, etc. So once you're back in your design, anytime you have your work here selected, there are options at the top, and you have the menu on the left for all of these cool things, such as uploads, elements, text, videos. You can add videos. There's a play. Enjoy it and play with it. If you have any questions, feel free to send them to me. And if there's nothing else, I am going to say thanks again to the Waterworks Art Museum, and thank you, Sarah, for hosting the class.
Thank you, KJ, for teaching it. It was wonderful, and I had a wonderful and amazing time. Thank you all for coming.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.